Well, you guys asked for it, and we decided to pre-record this baby. And after we hit 4,000 subscribers, too. Thanks, everyone. You guys are amazing. We got a ton of questions from you guys, and, well, let's get to it.
But to start off, someone mentioned my original channel was created on March 20th, not March 30th, as I claimed. But they did it without any hard evidence, which I do have, which will be in the description down below. So please, don't assume anything about me without asking first, as it can be rude to do so.
Now then, without further ado, let's get your questions answered. Starting with our FAQs.
What inspired you to make this series? Well, there were plenty of series that inspired me to create the series, one of them specifically the Railway series story, The Fat Controller's Engines. But I also got other ideas for the series from Simon A.C. Martin's The British Railway Stories, formerly The British Railway Series, as it was the first series I saw on YouTube in late 2007, early 2008, and the American-based The Bull Buccaneers, which I've also had ideas for, created by Luke Iverson, aka Modern L Productions. But I'm not going to forget Brad Mike's Railway Chronicles, which was one of the first non-Thomas series recorded in trains I personally saw, which was uploaded to both YouTube and Meta Cafe at that time. Why does it take so long to make and release episodes?
Well, there's a number of factors, actually. The big one being that we often have to wait for everyone to get their lines in, because everybody's got lives outside of the Thomas fan base, so not everyone can get them in quickly. I mean, RJ here was unable to lend her voice for a good couple of years because she was she moved to another state, which is why we once took like a 3-year gap between episodes. Well, that and one of our eye animators wasn't able to complete the eye movements. And then, sometimes, certain materials needed for a particular episode, they just take a while to finish. I remember not being able to finish Roderick's model for Rachel the High-Speed Engine for a while because I was sick.
What is your favorite episode in the series? Oh, that's a toughie for me, as I always enjoyed writing the first 3 episodes as a whole.
Well, if I had to choose one, it'd have to be Smoking in the Tunnel. I feel like it's the most focused out of all of our episodes so far, because it hits you the hardest at the end because of Sir Handel's carelessness. And it also allowed us to explore the dynamic between him and Millicent and Gertrude, which you never really got to see before.
Will we see Alfred and Roderick in future episodes? You'll definitely see Roderick again. We got plans for him.
Not sure about Alfred, though. Although, he'll probably be mentioned here and there.
How long does it take to make one video?
Usually ranges from about a couple weeks to a month or so, or actually even a few months, depending on those factors that I mentioned earlier.
How many seasons do you intend to make?
We intend to make as many as we have ideas for stories, and we still got tons of ideas. I mean, at the rate we're going, I don't think we'll be running out anytime soon.
So far, we've at least got 6 seasons worth of ideas, and we do plan to continue the series for as long as we can, as long as we still have good ideas. We don't want it to end up like Thomas and the Magic Railroad, if you know what I mean.
Right, now that those are out of the way, let's get to the other questions.
The Renamon Stan asks, who are your favorite characters to write for, and which episodes do you have the most fun writing?
Well, I personally had the most fun writing James the Dragon, as well as Smoking in the Tunnel. Josh Park 7745 asks, how did Remembrance meet Donald and Douglas? What color is Hackworth? What happened to Stroudley and Beatty? What's the name of Rochelle's sister, and what color is she? Will Thomas ever see Remembrance again?
Remembrance met the Scottish twins during her overnight trips to Scotland, not knowing they were just variations of the H-12s, thinking they were original members of the class. Having spent most of her life at that point near Brighton, as for Hackworth's livery, we've been meaning to come up with that, but I haven't thought of too many ideas as of late.
Not to mention there wasn't really a point, since he wouldn't have appeared after Remembrance's new shape. But we did decide that Stroudley and Beatty would both secretly be bought and then preserved by the Bluebell Railway. Rachel's sister is named Rose Scarlet, and she's painted red just like her. And will Thomas see Remembrance again? Better believe he will. She's one of the Fat Controller's engines now.
Flint Swenson 8234 asks, does Thomas remember Remembrance and her siblings before their rebuild? Are there any plans to expand the Little Western's roster of engines? Will we see Rosie and other TV series characters in the future, aside from Rebecca, whom we've already seen?
Of course he does. In fact, it was established in our first 2 episodes that Thomas and Remembrance knew each other before Thomas was brought to Sodor, although that was before either of us discovered that Remembrance wasn't actually built till after the fact. As for the Little Westerns roster, we haven't really thought about that, unless you count Daisy and Ryan on the Harwick extension, which we do plan to include in the series. And yes, we're going to have Rosie in our series as well as other TV series exclusive characters. A bunch of them were already seen in the background in our first season, and we even gave Salty a prominent role in Remembrance's new shape. Catch a Caldo Animated asks, will Eagle/Winston the Red Engine, Colin, Adam, Clive, and Matthew return to Sodor, and are Neil and Lily still there?
Unfortunately, Clive and Matthew would have long been since scrapped, but Neil and Lily are still around. Henry even confirms Lily's presence in A Tale of Two Red Engines. As for Winston, Colin, and Adam, they were sent to Renduin decades ago. We won't have them return to Sodor permanently, but I will roll them out visiting sometime.
Ooh, looks like we got one from our own Jonathan Ajama. What is the most outstanding moment in this series? I guess our most outstanding moment would have to be where Gordon shouts, "Homos!" Can't believe I came up with that. Still get a chuckle out of it.
Joey M. Brooklyn asks, what year does the series take place in? Well, it takes place as early as the 2010s. In fact, our first episode was set in 2014 along with the rest of the season.
This next one's not really a question, but Billy Jordan 8588 says, the deadline is the day of my 21st birthday. Well then, happy belated birthday, Billy!
Rob Rice 7246 asks, since Spitfire is a real-life engine, will you eventually showcase his real-life accident, mostly to serve as karma for his attitude towards Remembrance and her siblings? For Spitfire's accident, we'll see.
Pusher the Push asks, who is your favorite character in the NWR Adventures? What is your least favorite episode of NWR Adventures? If you had to remaster any of the NWR Adventure episodes, which one would it be, and why?
One of my faves would have to be Remembrance, as she was the first original character that I created. In fact, her model was originally a reskin within Microsoft Train Simulator at a time when I didn't own trains in 2009 or 2010. She even helped to inspire the redevelopment of the R1s, as well as Scott, of course. Hers and Stevenson's model were originally seen on UK Trim Sim, which I think you can get and use within Open Rails, an open source train simulator.
Oh yeah, I really love Remembrance too. Her personality's a lot of fun. But for me, it's a tough choice between her, Stevenson, and Rachel, because I put a lot of thought into developing the first 2 characters' personalities. Rachel's we kind of made up as we went along, but I'm pleased with how she turned out in the end. I like to think of her and Stevenson as tragic characters. I think that's why I enjoy them so much. I think my least favorite episode would have to be The Volunteer. We've had some people criticize it for being weak and confusing and rushed, too. They never said why they felt that way, but in retrospect, I think I can see why, though I can't explain it myself. Also, I don't really have a desire to remaster any of our episodes. I'm happy with how they turned out visually, but if I had to remaster any of them, it would probably be the first 4 episodes, but only so they could be in the standard 16:9 aspect ratio.
Norman's Chenik 3091 wrote, do you get bored at one point making a video?
I never get bored when making these. I love filming, and I love making these videos. Jojo Cat 2008 asks, any ideas for future content? Like I said, tons. In fact, we've already written most of our second season. which we hope to start releasing in the foreseeable future.
Jeremiah Isaacus 8677, if that's how you pronounce it, asks, who made the models of Remembrance, Rachel, Stevenson, etc.? Where are the routes of Remembrance's old railways from? When was the last time we heard Michael Hurtado? I think for me it was when the Thomas Creator Collective ended on my 14th birthday. What was the hardest part about filming Sir Handel derailed in the tunnel in Smoking in the Tunnel? Did James make amends with Rachel off-screen or mentioned?
I made them. In fact, Remembrance was the first model that I ever made, and I downloaded the Southern Railway route from the download station. Also, it's Michelle Hurtado, not Michael. And last I heard, she's been focusing on raising her son and even taking up 3D modeling as a hobby at one point. I haven't spoken to her in quite some time. I don't think RJ has either. But if she ever wants to come back and reprise her role as Rachel, then she's more than welcome to. I think the hardest part about filming the derailment scene in Smoking in the Tunnel was placing the people and the smoke in that tunnel. It was especially difficult to place them all at the right height, because with the gradients surrounding the tunnel, you can never really tell until you're in driver mode. I also had to move the tunnel mouths around so I could see what I was doing. I remember there was a lot of trial and error on that front. As for James making amends with Rochelle, that hasn't really happened yet. I want to explore the rivalry more first. Arsdale Jock writes, do you plan on making any episodes that revolve around the Arsdale Railway or Filterfell Railway? If you were to make an episode about one character that hasn't appeared in your series so far, who would that be? If by Filterfell you mean Caldyfell, then yes. We've actually got a couple ideas for the mountain engines, as well as the small engines. But I'm not so sure which one I'd write about, because most of them have already appeared so far, even just as background characters.
Tank Engine Media asks, how were characters like Remembrance and Stevenson made? What stories did you have that didn't make the final cut but wanted to include in a season 2? Simple, they were modeled in Blender, but we don't have anything that didn't make the final cut. We wrote and released every story that we intended for this season. If it wasn't gonna make the cut, we wouldn't have written it in the first place.
JT Studio Production 6375 asks, how or what made you inspired some creativity on making Remembrance, Stevenson, Rachel, and some of the other characters for the series? What class is Rachel meant to be representing in her story when she used to be one of the loaned engines on the NWR? Were some of the models of the original characters updated as the series continued on with its presence? What are the best moments you and the cast and crew had in each production of the episodes for Thomas the Tank Engine's NWR adventures? Well, Rachel is based on an LNER Raven A2 class. And yes, our models were updated, including hers. In fact, I rebuilt her model to her correct proportions once I was given an orthos for her basis. Now, I can't recall any particular moment that was my favorite. I can't speak for any of our cast and crew about that either. You have to ask them yourself.
Gray298 for Heavy Weapons asks, the series mentioned that Thomas has a surviving sister named Riley. What exactly can you tell me about her? Like what she's like? Her backstory, her relationship with Thomas, and how she ended up on Sodor. Is it possible that Gordon and Rachel are cousins or half-relatives? Will there be an episode about Rachel trying to make it up for James after what she did? Would any or some of the engines of Sodor / the Northwestern Railway visit or help out on the Valleyfield Central Railway?
We'll find out more about Riley in due time. I mean, we do have plans for her, but there's stories about the other characters we want to get out first. Also, yes, Gordon and Rachel are indeed cousins, coming from the same railway.
Don't forget, Rachel and Gordon were designed by different men. As for your last question, it'll depend on the story idea. And to answer your last two questions, keep an eye out and you'll see.
Fallout Amazing asks, can I make Rachel, Remembrance, and Stevenson and all the rest of your characters from your series as models? Please let me know.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind as long as you use our orthos for the engines. Credit us and don't charge for the models and it should be okay. Oh, and here's one from our own Thomas Bang Bang Stories 2008. He did the eye movements for our last 3 episodes, and he wants to know if there are any TV series from Thomas you would want to adapt into our series, and what would it be, essentially? And is there going to be a Sir Handel and Henry arc?
Why would I want to adapt any TV series episodes? This is a series of original stories. Besides, those TV series episodes, they've simply already been adapted countless times before. But there will be a Sir Handel and Henry arc eventually. How it'll pan out? We can't say, or else we'd spoil it for you. Joey the Cat 7482 asks, how have you made all those face packs without losing your sanity? Favorite aspect of making those episodes? I don't make a bunch of face packs all at once. They're done a few faces at a time. I take breaks when I need to. It also helps that a lot of these faces were made by my friends, though I designed most of our OC's faces myself. I'm not sure whether it's the filming or putting the scenes and dialogue together that I love the most. I mean, I love being in that world of Sodor, because the environments are just so beautiful and grand, depending on the route I use, of course. But I really love combining the voice actors' lines and hearing how their characters play off each other. That's always lots of fun.
CW Productions 5261 asks, can there be an episode where James is telling his friends about his twin brother named Callum, and James feels down in the dumps and asks him what's wrong, and he tells them his backstory and how he misses his brother, so that Miss Hat surprises him by bringing his brother to see him?
I don't know. Sounds an awful lot like our first episode, and we'd rather not repeat plot lines. But if you want to make that as an episode for yourself, go right ahead. Evelyn Giles 22 writes, what started the idea for Remembrance's name? You've made 15 episodes in the course of 7 years. What are some of the takeaways through that creation? What have you learned to do better on, and got any advice for fellow writers, collaborative editing, filmmaking creators?
Honestly, Remembrance's name came from the actual locomotive she's based on. SR Munsell N15X, number 2333 Remembrance, named in honor of the LBSCR employees lost during World War I. It's basically the same story with various other OCs, as you can see.
I've learned quite a lot about making these videos over the years. For example, I've learned more about writing characters and their motivations, trying to make your stories make sense, cutting back on exposition, things like that. But I always have someone else look at what I've written before sending it to our voice actors. They'll usually have ideas on how I can improve upon my work that I didn't think of before. That's why I recommend everyone get a second opinion on your scripts. They'll really help you in the long run. With regards to filming and editing, there's like 3 big takeaways that I picked up that I swear by to this day. Number 1, never use the same shot twice. There are countless angles that you can film from, and even more ways to convey certain emotions. Number 2, show, don't tell. Look, I know this is a franchise that's known for being narration heavy, but you don't have to have narration for every single moment. Just let the visuals do the talking, especially for moments that don't need the narrator explaining it. Your audience is a lot smarter than you think. I mean, hell, even the TV series knew when to show and not tell at times. And third, give your story a chance to breathe. When there needs to be a quiet moment, for example, let that moment be quiet. Having constant noise just gets exhausting after a while.
Fatboy1864 asks, will James and Rachel become friends? If you and Fantastic Mr. S had to be in the Thomas and Friends universe, what class of engine would you be, and what railway would it come from?
Like I said, keep watching and find out. But I personally can't think of any sort of engine class that I'd want to be.
Honestly, I'm already in the canon as myself and Mr. Cavendish, and so is Mr. S. As an engine, I have no clue what I'd be, an N15X or the fictional LBSCR R1s maybe, but I haven't a clue 100% to be honest.
Silhouette VA2365 writes, will there be a map of Renduin released to the public?
Well, we do plan to do that in the future, as we've been asked about that in the past. Honestly, I don't know why we haven't done so yet.
Well, I do think we should give it some more time and release more of our Renduin set episodes first before we release the map. Then our viewers can see more of Renduin, and then they can make more sense of it, if that makes any sense. Ooh, and here's some questions from You Know Him as Sir Handel. Darth Will 3, everyone! How do you suppose Rachel would have handled Bill and Ben during her stay on Sodor? Which bits of the show made you laugh so hard? Well, writing Rachel the way we have, I think she would have had little patience with Bill and Ben. She might have even gone as far as to play a trick on them in retaliation. She's not above petty payback, as you've seen in A Tale of Two Red Engines. Now, I can't think of anything that made me laugh hard, but I did get a chuckle from when Gordon shouted, "Boo-boos!" in episode 7.
Kesar the LNERB13 asks, will you release your trains models? How many people injured during Tretafix accident?
We'd actually rather not. We'd prefer to keep them private and not have them be used in distasteful ways. I don't know how many injuries there were. I couldn't find any info on that. The Island of Sodor Film Studio 4975 asks, what was the hardest episode to make? I mentioned earlier that the tunnel scenes for Smoking in the Tunnel were pretty tough, but the hardest ones, by far, were the Remembrance and Stevenson backstory episodes, apart from Remembrance and the Great Western Way. Those episodes were filmed on the download station's Southern Railway route, which is actually a pretty troublesome route to work with. I mean, the problem with that route, especially the section at the Brighton terminus, is that the stuff in the background was always disappearing. I had to film the shots so that the scenes looked as complete as they could be. I'll be glad if I never use that route again.
Jincola8090 writes, what about Thomas inspires you? What does Thomas mean to you growing up?
Where do I even begin? I mean, you got the stories, the lore, the characters, the continuity. What about it doesn't inspire me? And as for what it's meant to me, and still does, it's the kind of series that gave me a kind of escape from the real world. I mean, not that I didn't have a good life. I mean, I've had a great life. But Thomas always gave me a comfort zone, for lack of a better term. It gave me an appreciation for the world around me, a sense of wonder, all that good stuff. You know what I mean?
Honestly, a lot, and inspired me to even look at actual railway history. May have potentially inspired me to be a history nerd, so to speak. Thomas meant a lot to me growing up, but there was a time where I almost left the franchise during Season 8. No joke!
Season 8 didn't make me leave the franchise, but I digress. Anyways, here's a question from Andrew Busson, is it pronounced? 2024. How did you model Remembrance and Rachel by yourself? And how difficult was it? And lastly, haven't you planning for... I think he means, are you gonna plan for Season 2? Well, since I made Remembrance and Rachel, I can tell you that they were made in Blender. In fact, Remembrance was the first model that I ever made, and it took about 4 months to complete because I was learning it as I went along. Same deal with Rachel. Fun fact, I got carpal tunnel while modeling her. Thankfully it was the only time that's ever happened.
As for Season 2, we've been scripting various episodes for a while, and a good chunk of them are finished writing-wise. Episodes 16 through 26, I believe. We hope to finish scripting the season soon. Hopefully.
Ooh, here's an interesting question. It's from English Twister. Where or what position would you like the channel to be in 5 years' time? Or even 1 year from now, if 5 years is too much of a jump. Well, the only thing I can think of is to have more episodes out. Maybe even our second season. But what I'd really like to see happen, that in time, I'd like to see our audience really see our characters and Renduin be developed further and be more well-known.
I'd like to have more content put out, as well more people support us on Rumble and Odyssey, as to grow those channels. Mine, Ed's 11's question is, will Gordon get to meet Enterprise and Solario from the VCR?
All we can say is, wait and see. Aiden Productions 3691 asks, what gave you the idea for Remembrance and her railway?
Well, when I originally saw a model of Remembrance's basis back in the day that was on, made for MSDS, I thought this might be a decent model to base a character off to pull myself out of a dark place that I was in at the time, as I wanted to create a character that was related to Thomas in some way. As for her line, I based the VCR off a route I played around with in Trains 2006, which was available on the Trains download station, but I don't know where you can find it, unfortunately.
Nicholas Montes, is that how you pronounce it? 1080 wants to know, do you have advice for someone who is making a series that's either a fan project or something original, or has too many ideas in general and don't know where to begin? That is a great question, Nicholas. My advice for those wanting to make their own series is just know what you want and know how you want to pan it out. And if you can, try to give your series its own identity, something that'll stand out from the rest. If you think you have too many ideas or don't know where to start, just write down whatever comes to mind. When you've finished writing your first draft, have someone look at your scripts and give feedback on it. And have more than one person do it too. Then you'll have more second opinions to consider.
Immortal Empire's King 9168 writes, what characters do you not want to see in this series? Do you have any preferred voice actors for any of the Thomas and Friends characters? Do you know what this adventure camp is? What do you like about this series overall?
It's not so much that I don't want to see these characters in our series, but more so that including them wouldn't make sense. Like the logging logos, for example. I mean, we could develop them as characters, but then we'd have to leave out Misty Island, which realistically wouldn't make sense. But the two go hand in hand, so yeah, we're gonna leave them out. Same deal with Lady, Diesel 10, Whiff, and Scruff. Billy too. There's really no reason to include him, at least none that I can think of. And I personally would have loved to hear Jeremy Irons as Diesel, though RJ once told me she'd rather hear Mark Hamill in that role, which actually does make sense now that I think about it. And no, I don't believe I've ever heard of this venture camp.
Me neither. As for characters I wouldn't want to include, one of them is definitely Timothy the Ghost Engine, as I don't find his original story all that entertaining or even makes sense for that matter.
I couldn't agree more. But what I do like about our series is that I think that it keeps true to the spirit of the Railway series with that TV series look, but it expands upon the world too. I feel like because we added another fictional railway into the mix, we've been able to differentiate it from other fan projects in a way.
Dennis Laura 2001 asks, do you both like chocolate chip cookies and brownies? Do I like them? Of course I do. What are you, a comedian?
And I love them. I mean, give me one of them brookies as they're called, and I'm in heaven. Sean Guillermo, is that how you pronounce it? KJ6SE asks, what are you guys going to do on the 80th of the Railway series? And can I voice act? I've been in a lot of voice acting projects. The two of them are Trains and Gary's Mod. Well, we haven't set anything in stone yet, but we do have a special in the works. We don't know if we'll get it out this year, but if we do, that could be our 80th anniversary celebration. And if you want to voice act for us, just send us an audition or some sort of link to your work and we'll consider it.
And I have plans to do narrations of the original Railway series stories starting sometime this week or next. Starting with the 3 Railway engines and Thomas the Tank Engine. I'll even make them available to adapt. And here's one from our friend Shane Hayes, Sir Handle 169. Who are your favorite Railway series characters that never came to the series?
It's hard to pick one, but I'm leaning towards either Bear or Neil. I really like Neil's way of speaking, and I think Bear has a lot of potential as a character.
Honestly, there are a few of them. I was disappointed that the Arsdale Railway engines didn't appear sooner, but if I had to choose, I had to pick Ginty, Pug, and all the other because of the engines that were supposed to be in Thomas in the special letter.
Harry Harris 3905 writes, when does the series take place? Well, in modern times, of course. Far back as 2014. Mr. Jake 01568 asks, do you plan to update the opening intro for the next season of the series?
Funny you should ask that, because we've been talking about making one for the next season, We just don't want to give away too much, but we do plan on adding some surprises to it, as well as keeping in some old stuff. Keep an eye out for it. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Spencer B4J writes, what do you plan for a new project after Thomas the Tank Engine's NWR Adventures season finale? Well, keep your eyes peeled and you'll find out.
And finally, here's one from Cloud River Railroad 25. Will we ever meet Thomas's surviving sister mentioned in episode 1?
Well, actually, you first got to see Riley in that promo video we did for the Valleyfield Central Railway's engines. She even got to speak in it. And I believe that's all the questions. Thank you guys so much for submitting these. It really means a lot to us.
Stay tuned for more Thomas the Tank Engine's NWR Adventures, especially for our upcoming special, which should be out sometime this year or next year. We don't know yet.
But I think you guys are going to be in for a real treat when it comes out. In the meantime, stay golden, my friends.